Okay, we're all right. Hi, everyone. It's Hannah Bloom, Social Marketing Manager for MyRacehorse. I'm here at Phase of Tipton. The spring showcase is going on. And I'm here with Dr. Berk. You've all submitted your questions for him. I believe we have a horse running right now on Fast Stream, so if you hear a little cheering, that's what's going on in the background. But it's been a great day here at the spring showcase. We weren't necessarily expecting rain, but it's been a great day. We had a nice parade show. Dr. Berk answered some questions, so did Kevin Noltemeyer of Silver Springs Farm. So now that I've given you guys a few minutes to join, I'm going to pass off the mic to Dr. Berk. Mind us and our little mini mics. You can just put that on. And I'm going to queue up the questions for Dr. Berk. All right, so Dr. Berk, thank you for joining us, MyRacehorse Vet. One of the first questions we received was, how serious is a soft tissue injury?
It really, unfortunately, it's not an easy answer because it depends a lot upon the location of the injury and the severity of it. So what are some typical soft tissue injuries? Well, everybody's probably heard the term bowed tendon, and that refers to an injury to one of the flexor tendons, the superficial digital flexor tendon. And typically, even a minor one can be a relatively serious thing as far as a racing career goes. Many of those horses go on to other careers that are not as demanding on the horse as racing. There are other injuries that, once healed, the horse can be 100% and return to the same level of racing. We have suspensory ligament injuries that many of which do heal if they're not too severe. And it's just really a matter of the amount of time that's required. And so with all soft tissue injuries, what we typically do once we've diagnosed them, we follow them periodically with follow-up ultrasound imaging so that we can actually look at the injury and see the degree of healing. And typically, most soft tissue injuries take at least 60 days, 60 to 90 days, and there are some that are more severe that take even more time than that. In terms of, when I say time off, I mean time out of training. It doesn't necessarily mean that the horse is going to be standing in a stall resting. They might be hand walked. At some point, they might even be jogged under tack without progressing to galloping. So it's a very individual sort of a decision that we make depending on the injury.
I'm sure kind of a loaded question that we threw at you to start it off, but
sure.
Another question we had, and this is something I really enjoyed hearing about, since we're kind of coming out of sales season. OBS April just kind of wrapped. Right. This question from one of our owners is, do you play a part in the purchasing of a new offering? And if so, what do you look from at a medical standpoint? So I was thinking maybe you could talk about the process of when they pick horses and then go from there.
Absolutely. And I think it's a really good question because I think there's a certain amount of confusion on the part of buyers as to what it means to be vetting a horse, for a veterinarian to vet a horse at the sales. And so to make an analogy that I think it helps to understand that is my job as the veterinarian for my racehorse when we're selecting horses at sales is very similar to a portfolio manager of a retirement fund. All I'm doing is I'm finding things. I do three things. I review the radiographs of their knees, ankles, hocks, and stifles. And I also scope the horses to evaluate their upper airway. And then I do a good physical examination of the horses. And so what I come out with is a certain body of information for each horse. Those findings, if a horse has findings in any of those areas, it doesn't necessarily mean don't buy the horse. We're trying to attach a level of risk to each finding. And then so I present the team at MyRacehorse that's responsible for buying the horses with this information. We talk about the relative significance of each finding. And so if a horse has mild findings in one area, it may be more of a pricing issue in terms of what you are willing to pay. If it's a moderate finding, it may be a pricing issue. It may exceed the comfort level of the team, and they may decide, for reasons that include other variables like pedigree, conformation, talent, etc., that they would prefer to stay away from the horse. But there's never a time where I say either do buy this horse or don't buy this horse. I'm doing my due diligence, presenting that information to the MyRacehorse team, and then they're taking it, combining with other information to decide if they want to buy the horse, and if so, at what price level they will pay.
Thank you for answering that one. This is another question we get a lot of questions about necessarily when it comes to horses' throats. So this question is, can horses be genetically predisposed to needing a corrective throat surgery?
I think there's an impression that there may be a certain familial connection, but it's very vague. You know, if you had a mare that had had a couple of foals that had developed bad throats over time, you might make the connection in a very subjective way and say, oh, that's risky, but there's no real research that would identify any genetic component that would be attached to bad airways.
Thank you. And to round out all the questions, and we thank you again for your time, any update on Poletic and the type of injury she incurred, which was a sagittal third carpal slab fracture? The latest update says she will be rechecked on May 10th. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so I actually examined the radiographs that were taken at the racetrack when she injured herself racing, and she does, in fact, as you said, have a slab fracture of the third carpal bone in the right knee. And Dr. Bramlich at Root and Riddle went ahead and placed a screw across the fracture site to stabilize the fracture and compress it against the rest of the bone for optimal healing, so that we don't get things like degenerative joint disease down the line. It was an excellent job. I've reviewed the post-surgical radiographs. It's all good, and necessarily all of these horses get a period of time off afterwards for healing. She's approaching that time, that 60 days. We will take some more x-rays of her knee, and we'll evaluate the healing, and probably at that point she'll get the green light to start doing more than just standing in a stall and walking around. So, but it'll be a gradual re-entry into training. She won't just go right to galloping. She'll go to under tack, doing some tack walking and jogging and things like that. So, but the good news is that we have the expectation based on our post-surgical evaluation that she will be able to return to the same level of racing as she initially was.
Great. Thank you so much. I think that's kind of all the questions we have for you today. I'll jump back on the mic really quick. So thank you to Dr. Berk. Thank you so much for your time. All right, guys. So I know it's kind of a random time of day to be doing this live, but I do have the questions that are popping up here in front of me. If anyone has any questions that I can answer or about the showcase in particular, we did get to see quite a few horses. A lot of the questions that came in were about Poletic, Rosie's Alibi. It was really great to see all those horses. We saw Tufnell. We saw some of the ones that are now retired. So we got to see the fan favorite Star 6'9". He was great to see. So even if you couldn't be with us, I hope I'm bringing you enough information back at home. With the weather, it is raining. I'm not sure how much longer the horses will be back at the barn, so I'll keep you posted on any behind-the-scenes footage I can grab you, even if it's just videos or photos. So stay tuned, and thank you for the live, Dr. Berk. Thank you so much for submitting your questions, and we'll see you soon.